the stretch to the edge. What a hurdle by Jackson! Highlight reel touchdown! The Steelers is going to be Louisville and drive. Louisville, national champions.
Hello again, everybody. I'm your host tonight, Kyle, joined by co-host Connor, and we are back with another episode of the Third Banner Pod. Connor, how you been, man? What's going on?
I feel good after today.
Feel good? Had a good week at work?
Yeah, we can call it that.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's good. I'm admittedly tired, running around like crazy all day. Halloween is a lot when you got kids, getting them to and from. My stepson made the basketball team, even though he never practices, which I did not anticipate because he just doesn't practice. But he made the team, so now I'm running around doing that. So we've been really busy this week since practice started. But other than that, man, everything's going pretty good. And as far as we go on here, it's good to see everybody in the chat. Ezra, always positive. Anthony, Nick, what's going on? Nick, I already know where you're
Nick,
Nick. Oh, Nick. Y'all check out Nick's Twitter today if y'all haven't yet. He's on there trolling. Anyway, that being said, good to see everybody that's pouring in right now. We do have a big football game coming up. Connor, we're going to Death Valley, play at Clemson. We've never beaten Clemson. Everybody knows that. And I don't think this is going to be any easier, but how are you feeling going in this game?
Not good at all.
Not good at all.
Like, if I were to be safe, I would say the same thing I said about Miami, that we'd lose by 14. That's where I'm at right now. I'd be surprised if we keep it closer than that.
Yeah.
Just because it's at Clemson. I think playing at home gave us 7 points against Miami, even though the refs hate us, even though ACC refs hate us. 7 points at home. I don't think we're getting that when we go to Clemson. No shot.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta agree with you, Connor. I don't know how I feel going in this game. I don't feel very good, and I know somebody will make the joke. We hardly ever feel good about games. Not true. I actually predicted that we'd be 5-3 at this point on our schedule. Now, admittedly, I thought the loss would be at Boston College, which we
almost did.
Which, I mean, you know, I'm going to get into that a little bit too when it comes to this Clemson game. But the game that I thought we would win that we lost was the SMU game. But I knew it would be a tough game. So both of them were really tough games that could have went either way, and they just went opposite ways. So we're about where I thought we'd be. Unfortunately, before the season, I had this as a loss. And I feel like the situations really hurt us, or could hurt us. They don't have to. We need to use that Boston College comeback down 20-0 and end up winning that game on the road. We really need to use that as a springboard to reapproach the season in a different way. I mean, it's obvious that the season hasn't really gone the way us as fans would like it to go overall. I know some of the players have been frustrated, but you know, you came back on the road. You won a game that could have easily went the other way. I predicted before the season it would go the other way. So you really got to use that and build some positive momentum, which, I mean, I got to admit, Monday at the press conference with the coaches, I felt like didn't really go the way I thought it would in that regard. I feel like there's still a lot of, you know.
Felt like Kenny Payne.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Ron English did make the comment of his defense. He basically, I mean, I don't have the exact quote in front of me. He used the word aptitude. He thought they had more mental aptitude due to their experience, which came across to me as they're not able to
grasp what
we're doing. And he thought that they were had higher football IQs than what they have.
They needed to learn.
I was surprised. I was surprised that they went that direction after a win against Boston College, but I don't know. Hopefully, they are able to build on some of that momentum because my fear, Connor, is that Clemson has a whole lot to play for. I mean, they're still playing for a playoff spot. It's at home. They aren't going to take us lightly. You can tell Dabo has hyped us up as this really, really good team, which I think at times we can be, but he's hyping us up as the best version of ourselves. I don't see the team I don't see a team taking a break. Like they have playoff aspirations and they're on fire right now. Whereas us, we're kind of like still going through a lot of the same issues that we have all season. A lot of the same struggles. And it seems like if our offense is playing well, our defense starts struggling. If our defense is playing off, our offense starts doing better.
Friday
Then our
night,
defense
the
gives up a
defense.
bunch of
Friday night, the defense looked like shit until
at
the second
times.
half.
Yeah, at times. And then other times they look good. But then when they look good, like I felt like a lot of the first half, I felt like they did look pretty good, but our offense couldn't score for a long time. And then our offense starts scoring, our defense starts giving up points. So it's just like we've got to play a complete game in all three facets of the game. And I just don't think against P4 teams we've done that all year, really. So that
And
makes me nervous going into
Clemson's a
Clemson.
different team. Like
Exactly.
we're not playing Boston College on Saturday.
Exactly. And it just, Miami, as good as a team as they were, we kept with them most of the game, but our defense couldn't stop them. And it was at home. This is a night game. That's another thing. I know people have different opinions on if night games matter or not. I absolutely think it
They
gives the home
matter
team.
at Clemson.
Yes. If you're playing a team like Clemson, it's going to be a raucous environment, whether it's at noon or whether it's at 7:30. But I'm telling you right now,
You let them drink
different.
all day? Like,
It's different at 7:30. So you're gonna have to, bring your best game. You're gonna have a raucous crowd. The officiating, I already see people on Twitter, bringing that up. That's just a part of the game, man. Like it's a part of the game at this point. It's unfortunate. I don't expect us to get a great whistle at Clemson. So you've got to just
great
overcome
whistle?
that.
I don't expect us to get a decent one.
No. And so my thing is, it's not even worth talking about. It is what it is. So expect the worst. And if it's not, then be pleasantly surprised. But, you're going to have to overcome that. And there's just a lot between the environment, the officiating, the stakes on the line. It's our toughest game of the year. So I look at
It's the
it
one that
and I
means the
really,
most now, too.
yeah, I really look at it and I'm like, we've got to find a way to start forcing turnovers and not turn the ball over ourselves. And I just don't feel like we've done a good job against the P4 competition overall of forcing turnovers. And it's the great equalizer to their home field advantage and their superior talent overall. It's the great equalizer. We absolutely have to find a way to force turnovers.
Can we stop the run?
Yeah. I don't know.
Like Phil Maffa is, I don't know his average off the top of my head, but I would say it's at least 80 a game. At least 70, 80 a game. Like, can we stop him running the ball?
Yeah, and then you've got their defense as well. I mean, they've got all kind of stars on that side. I know TJ Parker in particular on the edge. That's a tough responsibility for our offensive tackles who have struggled. I mean, I know we got Monroe Mills back. That's a benefit, but it's going to be a lot.
That's great, but he can only do so much.
They've got a lot of like really good players, but that's the one that sticks out the most to me. Loaded at cornerback.
They have some dudes on the defensive line.
Klubnik's finally, I know he struggled early in his career, but he's on fire lately. He's figured it out. Their receiving core, that was, I remember after the Georgia game, the thought was, here we go again. Our receivers are going to struggle again. We lack talent in that position. Well, ever since like that first game, they've really figured it out. And of course, they got Phil Maffa as a running back, who's a beast. So great running game, good receivers. Klubnik's figured it out. He's a dual threat guy, which they all are anymore, except for us. Like we're the only team out there that doesn't run dual threat offense. So it's going to be something we have to overcome. And, if you can slow down a rushing attack, as you alluded to, that would be tremendous. Put some more pressure on Klubnik, make him more, one-dimensional. But Maffa's going to be tough to me because of his style of running. He's a power runner.
He's a power runner with speed.
He reminds me of the running back at Miami whose name escapes me right now.
Martinez.
And, he runs
We
a
had
lot
a great time with him.
Exactly. He runs a lot like that. And I don't know. I mean, we're going to have a different mentality. Whatever mentality we had in that home game against Notre Dame last year when Estime was, believed to be this great power back, and then we just shut him down. We're going to have to not only
way as they do. This kid runs the same way as Estime does.
Yes, I agree that they're very similar. And so we're going to have to find that magic, but we're going to have to do it on the road. So I don't know, Connor. I think out of all the games we play this year, and I don't even want to talk about the one down the road because I just get anxiety about that one because of how last year went. But out of all the other games this year, I look at this game and we're going to play a damn near perfect game to win. It's kind of like the Kenny Payne UK thing. I just want us to win by one.
If we win, I'll be happy.
Be the first time we ever beat them. It'd be on the road. It'd be a team that's just on freaking fire right now with
and we shut down their playoff hopes.
But that's like I said, that's what makes me the most nervous too. Is they've got so much on the line, whereas we really don't. And maybe we play more loose because of that. But the history shows we really haven't so far. And maybe that is because of the weighted expectations. And that's the way I'd approach as a staff. You no longer have the weight of the college football playoff goal on the line.
Unless we somehow make the ACC championship, which ain't happening.
I mean, it's very, very unlikely. I ran through a scenario earlier this week. It would take so many teams losing 2 games that haven't lost yet that I don't see how it could possibly.
So in other words, it ain't gonna happen.
Right. So even if we beat Clemson, they'd have to lose to somebody else. And that would give us a tiebreaker, but that's only if it's us and Clemson head to head. But
and then we got to beat Clemson somehow.
Yeah, exactly. We have to beat Clemson, but then you got Pitt, who's undefeated. Miami's obviously undefeated, and they already beat us, so they own the head to head. If they lost to, which we know they're not going to, so there's really, it's the odds have to be over 99% that we do not make the ACC championship. So with that being said, play looser now. I saw something today, Jeff Brom released, where Ashton Gelati is going to be playing his natural position of edge.
Wow. Amazing how that works.
Yeah, it's been a point of frustration for us all year. I know we've talked about it in our group chats, but better late than never, I guess. So hopefully that helps. I think he did have a better game against Boston College. I felt like he made more of an impact.
I also think we brought more pressure in the second half, which helped him.
That and he predominantly played the edge. So hopefully he continues on his positive momentum, positive trajectory. I think our stars played well on defense against Boston College, and that's who you have to lean on. Quincy Riley in that second half had 3 or 4 huge plays. So
I didn't get to watch the first half. I watched the second half, but I didn't get to watch the first half. I listened to it, and Paul Rogers was pissed.
Yeah.
The first touchdown where they went 50 yards on what it sounded like was a wheel route where the dude was just wide open and walked down the sideline and scored. How do you let that happen?
Yeah. It's been that kind of year, man. And I don't know. We're not gonna be able to get away with stuff like that against Clemson.
No,
Tron, good to see you in here, man. Couch House, always a pleasure. So I don't know, Connor. You got any predictions for Clemson? Be honest.
Clemson by at least 14.
Clemson by at least 14. So you've got them losing big, and I could see it getting that way. If we're going, here's the way I see it going. We're going to keep it close, which could be a win or a loss, or we're going to get blown out. So there's no guarantee that even keeping it close will be enough. I see no scenario where we blow these guys out, and I hope this gets clipped later after I'm wrong. I just don't
That's
see
fine.
it.
That's
I'm
like
just
if
being
we're
honest. But I mean, yeah, it's great. Clip me if I'm wrong, because that means we kicked their ass, and that's great. But I see the only scenarios I see are like a close win or a close loss, which means we played well and still could lose, or we don't play well and we get our asses kicked. Because it's one of those games where you come out there with a couple of dumb turnovers, or
and it's over in the first quarter.
or you get dumb penalties like, okay, you're down at like the 30-yard line of theirs and you're marching, and then you get a holding penalty and then you get a false start. Now you're at like the 45 and then you have a negative play. Now you're at the 50. Like that kind of stuff's happened a lot. And if it happens against Clemson, that raucous night crowd, it flips the whole momentum of the game. You have a key turnover in a bad spot, which there's no such thing as a good turnover. So I guess any turnover would be in a bad spot. But that's going to be a problem. And, you're going to have, like I said, they've got an improved offensive line this year. The receiving core is doing better. Moffa's a beast. Klubnik's really improved. You're going to have to stop TJ Parker. And they've got other guys out there as well. I know, linebacker, they that's the biggest advantage they have over our defense right now. I feel like our linebackers, no offense to them, as a collective unit, are our biggest weakness. I feel like we get the middle of the field and the seams are exploited a lot, whereas Clemson has guys like Barrett Carter, for example, and a very experienced defensive line who's just been hell to deal with. And so I don't know. You're going to have to find a way to mitigate their ability to do the things they've been able to do all year. I think they've done a really good job. So the linebackers are going to be tough.
Okay. Trent just brought up a hypothetical.
Oh, Trent, by the way, thank you for the $5 donation. I'm trying to pull it up. There it goes. 4th and 1, you need to convert. Chaney outside run, AHB, jet sweep, or Malik Cunningham zone with Hassan Hall run. Okay. Yeah, we don't miss that at all. Dave, good to see you in here, man. Thank you for the donation, Trent.
I'm going to take Malik Cunningham zone read.
And here's another thing you have to worry about Clemson. They're going to hold every single time you try to throw it downfield. They've been taught to do that. Unless – I guess I don't know as much after Brent Venables left last couple of years. I haven't really paid as much attention, but I remember like they had that Tankersley guy at cornerback. He literally just held every time, and they've done that repeatedly. You remember the game, the Lamar Jackson game, Hicatini gets tackled in the middle of the field, like 15 yards down the field before the ball's even thrown. No flag. So the thing is with Clemson's defense, they have a history of they just hold as many times as they can because they know you can't call them all. So I expect some of that. I think our run game is going to have to open up the pass. And, yeah, as far as my prediction, man, if I had to put a score on it, Connor, 34-17 Clemson.
So you got them by 14 or 17?
Yeah.
I don't think
I hate it. I hate it.
I don't think it's going to be pretty. I really don't.
I don't know. Nick says no need to indulge any Twitter rumors. No, we're not reading that.
I think we should.
No. Trent. Nick made quite a tweet earlier today, joking around, and people were sharing.
I don't know. It might have been serious. But
I don't want to push that. Well, I haven't heard that about. I do expect. I will say this about Nick's point about offense coordinator rumors. I do expect some changeover at the end of the season with this staff. I think a lot of these guys have worked together for a long time, and I do expect some changes there because this has been a disappointing season, and there comes a time where with a coaching staff, you've seen everything you need to see over the course of several years, and it's just a relationship grows stale. So it doesn't have to be that like there's hatred or anything. It's just it's time to move on, man. And I think there's going to be some shakeups at the end of the year. Brian Brom as offensive coordinator is an interesting situation to me because,
He doesn't do anything.
well, I won't go
Other than that,
laugh like that. I was just going to say that the offense hasn't looked great this year. They have their moments, and I know somebody will point to total yards and those kind of things. Some of that's empty calories, though. Some of that is. And I'm not saying offense doesn't have moments where they click really well. I thought they played really well against Miami, and they had
I
their
also think
moments.
Miami doesn't play defense. That was also part of it.
That's true. But Boston College, I mean, they had some struggles there. They had their moments, but they had some struggles. And I just feel like it's been very clunky and inconsistent. And I feel like at times the playbook doesn't look like it's what I'm used to seeing out of a Jeff Brom offense at Western Kentucky or Purdue. And it hasn't been since Louisville football under Jeff Brom got underway. So the Miami game being an exception to that, I wanted to see more of that going into the Boston College game, but we really had some struggles there. So I'm interested to see what offensive changes there are at the end of the year as far as the
If
staff
any.
goes, if any, because obviously it's a unique dynamic when your brother is the offensive coordinator.
Be an awkward Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it something where Brian says, hey, you know, I know I need to get out from underneath your tutelage because you're my brother and there is that stigma. So I need to go out there on my own and you know, go my own way. Cause that would be to me, that would be like a cordial departure where it's like, you know, hey,
mutual parting of ways.
a mutual agreement. And to be quite honest, I kind of thought that would happen after last year because when they first left as a staff to come back to Louisville, I remember there were rumors in that Brian might veer off on his own path. He ended up coming with them. And I mean, some of that could have been obviously it's his home and in his alma mater and all that. So that probably had some pull. But I did think after last year we might see him veer off, and he did not. So I'm just curious to see how all that plays out. On defense, I expect some major changes. But in the meantime, you know, we've got a season to
Figure out the rest
complete.
of.
We got to figure out the rest of while Clemson is locked in trying to get to the college football playoffs. So,
and they're not having coaching issues like we are.
Yeah. So that's our football stuff. And I don't know. I mean, I hear you, Robbie, about positive energy. We can beat Clemson. Let me put it that way. If we play our best game and mistake-free football and up to our utmost potential on both sides of the ball and have a full, complete game, if we do all that, we can beat Clemson.
But I don't think it happens on the road.
It's going to be tough. There's a lot of obstacles, and there's a lot of inconsistency to the point where I cannot guarantee that. And unfortunately, none of us can. So with that being said, on Monday, the Pat Kelsey era officially begins as we play Morehead State, November 4th. I will not be at that game. I'll be at the Tennessee game. But, Connor, I can tell you, man, I feel like this has been the longest offseason I can remember in Louisville basketball history.
I actually care about basketball right now.
Yeah, I do not. I cannot think of a time that's felt like it was as long. Because, like, I'm going to be honest, Kenny Payne era, it's just there was no communication
with
the fan base. There was not much positive news. So there was no anticipation going into the season. I just kind of pushed it away, and it's like, oh, yeah, it almost came really fast for that reason because it was like, oh, you know, Louisville basketball is here. Oh, crap, I almost forgot because it was just so hard to follow and feel good about.
Last year, I didn't care that basketball season was here.
Yeah, it was hard to be invested. I still was invested because I was just hoping that something would change. I can't say I truly believed in my heart it would, but I was there trying to talk myself into it. But it's the opposite this year where I'm just on pins and needles waiting for this thing to start. Like, I like what I've seen so far in the exhibition games, but I'm ready to see some real basketball. I'm ready to see us against a real team. I think we've looked really, really good overall. I would say, Connor, after watching this Monday, that we are not a team that's meant to take people in ISO situations at all. like one-on-one off the dribble, there's not very many situations where I think that's beneficial to us. Because for the first time on Monday, I felt like we saw a little bit of that from the offense. The ball didn't skip and hop as much. We had a lot of turnovers, and we went through some periods, and I say that we won by 45 points. I just mean there were some periods in there, some segments where we weren't putting the ball in the hoop as much. And I felt like for a while in the second half, they actually kind of hung even with us in the second half. And then we finally, the last 7 minutes or so, the ball started moving like it usually
I
has
think
been.
the first half was slow too.
It was. It
The
was.
first, the first, like I would say, 7 minutes, we did not look good. It was not pretty basketball.
Yeah, at times it definitely was not. I feel like the difference in the first half, at least at first, was they made it a point to try to contest threes, at which point, our staff, or at least I assume it was our staff and not just the players, but they were like, hey, you got to take the ball inside.
And then we did.
And we did. So I actually was okay with most of that, except the times where they did an ISO ball and over dribbled. And Pryor, if there's one thing I can say about Pryor's game, that
he needs to work on his dribbling.
he needs to work on dribbling less, in my opinion. Like, he has his moments, and for his size, he does have guard moves. But you got to be careful, especially at that size, over pursuing, because what happens is your help defense is going to come and they're going to break towards the ball when somebody's that big and tall out there dribbling like that. And it's a pretty easy steal. It's a pretty easy to knock the ball away. And I noticed they kept breaking at the ball. And so when you're having that issue against D3, D2 teams, then you're going to play teams like Tennessee, Duke, IU, UK.
Hell, we might play Gonzaga and battle for
maybe
Atlanta.
Gonzaga. You're going to have teams that really put some pressure on you. Like, you're not going to be able to do that kind of stuff. So it wasn't just Pryor, but I did notice a lot of that out of him. And he had a good game overall. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to sound like I'm being negative. I guess what I'm saying is when I looked at
we got all that out with football.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is when I looked at the Bahamas, it was, the competition's obviously not great, but it was hard to find anything that really didn't go right.
Yeah.
When I looked at our first exhibition game against Young Harris, there were a few things on defense as far as letting them get into the lane that I felt like we need to work on. But offensively, it was kind of the same thing. It was like the ball just hopped and moved like a hot potato, and they passed guys open. And
we didn't. I feel like we did a lot of passing on Monday, but
we did.
But it wasn't like effective passing, if that makes sense.
It didn't. The offense at times did not look like it did in the first 3 games.
It still looked a million times better than what we've seen the last 2 years.
Yes, and so I only bring it up to say, like, I think it's a point of emphasis where the coaching staff can look at it and use that. No, ain't nobody taking no positive vibes from basketball. You better believe the coaching staff's not telling these guys they're perfect and everything's great. All I'm saying is it was the first time where I could look at it and say, okay, I see what this team is good at, and I see it where if they don't do these things, they will struggle. So we pass guys open schematically in a beautiful way. And the pass – we don't have to put the ball on the floor very much. Very rarely do we need to take a guy off the dribble. And when we do, it's usually because of the position he's in towards the top of the key. Oh, okay. He says he's joking. Sorry, man. I never know in text. I never know. My bad. But there are some very sensitive people. I actually try to watch my words because I do feel like people automatically are going to be like, you're just being negative.
I know people don't want to hear this, but we need to look like Bellarmine. We need to look like the way Bellarmine passes the ball.
Passing, yes, but we play so fast and we have so many better athletes.
Speed, no, but the passing, the way Bellarmine passes the ball, that's how we need to look on the perimeter passing the ball.
So, the only time I think we should really be beating our guys off the dribble from like the top of the key, for example, is when they're passed into an angle where they're already got positive momentum moving towards the basket and they have a step. Like, I don't think there's going to be many situations, Corin Johnson and maybe Terrence Edwards aside, where we just break dudes off the dribble that are in a good defensive stance. I just don't see a whole lot of that.
No,
Attacking space and passing into that space appears to be a strength of this team. Flare screens, ghost action, those kind of things. I've seen a little bit of Spain action. I remember in the Bahamas, they really fixate on that. It's a thing of beauty. And the inbounds plays, especially where they hit the flare screen and the guy curls towards the top of the key, and he's either got an open three, and if he doesn't have an open three, then
backdoor cut down to the basket wide open.
Backdoor cut simultaneously. That's a beautiful play. It's so hard to defend. And so I think it's a thing of beauty when we pass our guys open. And in the second half, about 7 minutes onward, I feel like, and it came out of a TV timeout, I feel like it finally started clicking. Like, hey, guys, we're not playing exactly the way that we want to play. And so I think that's going to be a big thing on offense, Connor, is that if we're not passing the ball and we're focused more on dribbling, taking a ton of dribbles, I think that's going to be a weakness. Yeah. Whereas we pass better than probably almost everyone in the country.
Oh, 100%. But like, I love Kaysen. I knew him way before he got here. He's 6'10". He does not need to be He does not need to be the sole ball handler at the top of the key.
Yeah.
The offense should not run through him at the top of the key as him as the primary ball handler.
Yeah, and I mean, I certainly think he's a capable ball handler and that he has the ability to handle the ball at the top of the key, but when he's breaking dudes off of the dribble and there's going to be help defenders, you have to quickly stop and make that pass. And so
he tries to spin is what happens. He tries to spin move everybody and he gets ripped.
That, or he takes one extra dribble, whereas a guy like Corin Johnson, who's small and fast,
he can take that extra dribble and be fine.
He can split that at times, and he can also, blow past a guy to the point where by the time the help defender gets there, he's already blown past the first guy. So now he just breaks the other dude down. That is a difficult skill. Not many people have it, but he does. But Kaysen Pryor, like, he tends to he takes one or two extra steps, or he takes that turn, like you're saying. And I just don't think – I think he's going to have to learn to pick the ball up a little sooner when he's that far away from the basket, unless he's already got a lane and he's got position on one-on-one. Then he can drive it to the lane. But then by then, as a big guy, got to be careful about getting a charge, run somebody over. And so you've just got to make quicker decisions when you're a big guy than a little guy, usually, unless you're like Kevin Durant, which nobody is. So,
What about Jalen Withers?
Oh, man, yeah. You never knew what he was going to do, and he had the ball. He should have never had the ball at the top of the key. But, cannot wait. One thing that's very important to me, Connor, is that we beat Morehead State. I don't want to take that for granted because everybody's looking at Tennessee. And while Morehead State's going to be far from the best team we play all year, I would make an argument they're probably twice as good as any of the teams we've played, counting the Bahamas and exhibition.
I think Morehead's going to be bad this year.
Yeah, and they might be.
Because everybody went to JMU. Because their coach left and went to JMU.
Yeah, and I have no idea about their new coach. I admittedly don't know a whole lot about them. I just assume as a, mid-major
as a casual ball knower.
Well, when it comes to Morehead State, yeah, I admit I don't know a whole lot. I just assume they're better than Young Harris and that they're better than
I hope so.
The Bahamas teams. Although Calgary, I don't know, Calgary was pretty solid for an exhibition team.
They do have a big man that might give us problems, but if we can just run him off the court, it won't matter.
Yeah.
Which I feel like we probably will.
So, yeah, got to beat Morehead because could you imagine – you don't want to imagine going in that Tennessee game 0-1 because you get Tennessee, I'm pretty sure right after that.
It's Battle for Atlantis.
Battle for Atlantis, IU.
Or if it's not right after Tennessee, it's like a week and a half after Tennessee.
So you really, really got to come out there firing on all cylinders. Hopefully we get Kenai Roos back, who was out with a concussion. I know concussions are an odd thing in basketball. I've seen it last a month before, and I hope that's not the
My
case.
concussions were terrible, like 2-3 month issues.
I've got my daughter over here talking. Usually I mute when she's talking, but there's only 2 of us tonight.
No,
I shut the door. She's figured out how to open that door now.
no, my concussions were terrible, like 2-3 month issues, and I hope it's not that.
I hope not either, man. I really do. Hey, come on up here since you're wanting to see what's going on. Hi.
Did you see what Mark said?
What'd he say?
He's getting us a Sean Moth cameo for the Discord.
Okay. So yeah, Morehead State. I cannot wait. I think we'll have a good crowd. I mean, I won't guarantee we're going to sell it out. We have such a huge arena, but I'm thinking we're going to have 16, 17,000.
We might sell out Tennessee.
Tennessee, I think, will sell out, but that's another reason why it's super important that we win this Morehead State game.
And Tennessee's going to travel.
We cannot overlook Morehead State, which I don't think we'll try to overlook our first opponent. We just can't. We can't go into Tennessee 0-1 because Tennessee's going to be a tough game. And them and IU played a scrimmage, and I think IU beat them by 4, but it was back and forth, very physical game. Tennessee's a very physical team, as is IU. And so to get 2 physical teams back to back, don't want to start 0-1.
Because don't we play IU the first game of Battle for Atlanta?
Yes, play IU.
And then we play and then if we win, we play the winner of Gonzaga and
I think West
Virginia.
I believe so. Yes. So we're going to get tested early. The Morehead State game is one of those you look at and you're like, okay, you got to win that one because you're not going to get too many opportunities for what I would consider a game you should win. Like I look at Tennessee and it's a game I hope we win. I use a game I hope we win, but I can't sit here and be like, that's a game we should win. Morehead State's one of those games. So start strong. And I do think we could potentially have a sellout Saturday. Like I said, I'll be there. I got my white hoodie pumped, ordered a new one just for that game. And
the game tips off 2.5 hours before my wedding. So
yeah. Well, congratulations. That's much more important.
I'll be
it's been a long time coming.
I'll be watching it.
Yeah. Well,
I'll be like this, like getting ready. I'll just be watching it on my phone.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you have any predictions for Morehead State. It's hard to really – I don't know enough about them to really say, like, this is what I expect. I expect us to come out there fired up, though. We might even be a little bit nervous at first and play a little bit.
I would say we win by at least 25.
Yeah.
Because all the guys that were really good, they all went to JMU with Preston. And then, honestly, Deontay Miles is the only one that stayed that's anywhere worth a damn to play against us. He played at Xavier before he went to Morehead. He's a Kentucky kid.
Yeah.
Went to Walton Verona.
Okay.
But I honestly think he's probably their best player because I think, if I remember correctly, Freeman went to JMU. The kid from Clarksville went to JMU. And then they graduated a bunch of guys last year too.
So probably a whole new team, which is just one more reason why it's really hard to know. Yeah. And we've got a whole new team. So we've seen what we look like against exhibitions. I love what I've seen so far, but you know, I've seen plenty of teams do that and then go into the season and just not carry it over. Callie, could you please stop closing the door?
I mean, you saw us play last year.
Well, yeah, we play exhibition games much better in the PK era than we did in the KP era. But
we are. What was the stat?
That's such a low bar that I can't even really use it. But
so in Kenny's first year of exhibitions, the margin of victory was -3.
Yeah.
And PKs, it's +92.
Awesome. So another reason why it's very important to start off strong, especially with such a tough strength of schedule, is as you guys can tell, our 25 class, we have no commitments. We've had plenty of visits, no commits. So we really have to start off strong because people really want to see what we're about. They haven't seen the product on the court. High school guys aren't as apt as portal guys to just take a chance with a coach. When they have NBA aspirations, they want to go with a proven commodity in a system.
Which is funny because we took a bunch
friendly.
of guys that have NBA aspirations and then have never seen this guy coach Power 5 basketball.
Right. So that's the thing. Like, okay, I'll give you an example. Pat Kelsey, Nate Oates, they run a similar offense. Very similar. Maybe arguably, I won't say identical.
Almost the exact same offense.
I won't say identical because I'm sure there's wrinkles that each coach has that the other one doesn't. But overall, it's pretty damn similar. But like a guy like Jemison, for example, he decided last month between us and Bama. I'm not going to say he picked Bama because he definitely thinks they can get him to the league and that we can't. But I know that was a big part of his decision. Obviously, NIL was a big part. But I know we offered a good counter offer, and he stuck with Bama. And, Nate Oates does have multiple people in the NBA. And he has a proven college system. He just made a Final Four. So we are working against that. And I think that's why we've had problems getting guys. Shelton Henderson's going to go to Duke. Nate Mint, that's a long shot.
Isn't Shelton Henderson's dad friends with Jay Lucas or something?
Yeah, and that's the thing. He's they've been close with the Lucas family for a very long time, John and Jay both. And it's just kind of it's a challenge. At one time, I do believe we were the leader for Shelton Henderson, but it was when Duke was. I think they were going after Aristotle and a couple other guys, didn't get him. And so then they circled back around to Shelton and really prioritized him.
And he was oh, yeah, let's go.
Their argument probably we never stopped recruiting him, which I'm not saying they never stopped, but I feel like, you can only take so many guys. Yeah. And even when Duke's got a monster class lined up, everybody has their limits. And so I think that they really wanted a guy or two at that position.
Well, I'm assuming they're
expecting. Shelton was the next man up.
I'm assuming they're expecting to have 5 or 6 one and dones. How many ever seniors they have?
When you look at their class, especially once they get Shelton in there, it's freaking loaded. And they just got a small forward who's like
isn't he from Brazil or somewhere?
He's like a top 30 player. And so I thought, well, maybe that'll help us with Shelton Henderson. I was immediately told, nope, doesn't help.
No, because they're friends. They want to play together.
They don't want to go to Duke. Yeah. So I don't know. And then they're still wanting to get Nate Mint. And they have a really good shot at that. So I think Mint's recruitment's a little bit more open than Shelton Henderson.
Isn't it between Duke and Kentucky?
I don't think Kentucky is much.
Who am I thinking of that's between Duke and Kentucky?
You're thinking of a Caden Lewis, who's more Kentucky, I think.
Yes.
I could be wrong because I don't follow theirs as much. When it comes to Nate Mint, there's a few schools involved. We're one of them, but I think Duke is in a really good position. Kansas is another school he's really interested in, and they're tough to beat. So I'm just looking at our recruiting, and for me, it all comes down to Mikel Brown, 5-star, top 10 player.
If we can get Mikel Brown, it should be like Pierce Clarkson, and I know we don't want to draw that comparison because they haven't played whatever except Jamari, but you get Mikel Brown and a bunch of his friends to come play.
See, the problem is by the time Mikel Brown makes a decision, wherever he goes,
all his friends are going to be committed.
They're all committed. They're almost already all committed. So it's like you can flip guys in basketball, but it's much less
harder
than it is in football, especially the top end guys. It's not very common for a guy like, I don't know, Chris Sinak, wherever he commits to. It's very unlikely he's going to turn around and decommit in 2 months and go somewhere.
Malachi's not decommitting from UK.
No, he's a local guy too. But, Nate Mint, if he goes to Kansas, it's very unlikely that Louisville's going to turn around and flip him because Mikel Brown went to Louisville. So, at this point, it's a process of elimination. And I think that all the eggs are in one basket, mainly. I'm sure they're reaching out to other guys.
We got a dozen eggs and 11 of them are in Mikel Brown's basket.
I don't know how to say his name. Is it Bundalo, whatever it is?
Nico, whatever.
Yeah, Nico, Bundalo, whatever it is. He, top 30 guy, small forward.
Isn't he at 26 though?
He's 25. He reopened his entire recruitment, and we initially reached out, but there's been multiple recruiting guys that have said, on the, I know 247 guys, on 3 guys have said that we reached out, but beyond that, we're probably not going to pursue.
Is that the kid from Georgia?
Yes,
that committed to Georgia or whatever?
Oh, I don't know if he committed to Georgia. There was a kid that committed to Virginia, and he backed out. And I can't think, Chance something.
And then they had one that went in a portal.
Yeah, they had one that went in a portal, but
that Mac wanted.
That top 50 point guard at Virginia can really shoot the rock, but apparently wants to stay in Virginia, most likely in the state. So Chance Moore, that's it.
So he's going to go to Virginia Tech and be a nightmare for us for 4 years. Great.
But at some point you got to win. That's where starting strong matters, because I'm looking at a guy like Chance Moore. If you can start strong, and if he holds off on committing somewhere else, I don't know. Maybe he enjoys the style of play and sees it for what it really is. Maybe we get a guy like Kanai Roos to really go off and give us a chance.
What happens if we start? Let's just say we beat Morehead, whatever.
Yeah,
and we split. Maybe go 3-1, Tennessee, and our 3 games in Atlantis.
If we go 3-1 our first 4 games, I am pumped. I'm thrilled.
And that's the start we need.
Even if we go 2-2, I won't be pumped, but I will be optimistic still.
Yeah.
Because that means we beat one of IU and or Gonzaga.
Or West Virginia.
Or Tennessee.
Yeah, or Tennessee.
Or West Virginia. Yeah, so we've beat some.
West Virginia's supposed to be good this year too.
Well, I love their new coach, but out of Drake. But where was I going? Oh, Mikel Brown. So it sounds like Mikel Brown. Okay, Bundalo's from Cincy. He's not from Georgia. I didn't know where he was from. But Mikel Brown, it's rumored that he is going to try and visit for the Duke game on December 8th. That'll be a big game. Hopefully by then we're rolling, I hope. And by rolling, I mean that we have a sound, effective system that we're clicking on all cylinders. We're not going to win every game up to the Duke game, or at least I don't think we will. But hopefully we've got a good, respectable record at least, and have a big game atmosphere for that Duke game if he does indeed visit for that game. And everybody says he's going to commit in the spring. If he does visit on December 8th, we've got to change that, Connor. We have to change it. Because
if we can get him to commit that day, that would be lovely.
We've got to get him to change that, because that's the problem. That's the same problem we've had before. Shelton Henderson's a good example. We were in the lead for a window of time, I'd say for 3 or 4 weeks, where we felt really good, where I know for a fact our staff felt really good about where they sat, and they feel good about where they sit with Mikel Brown right now. But, there's work to be done. And when you get these visits, it's just so important to close soon, because, if he visits December 8th, but he commits in March or April somewhere.
He can't come on another visit unless it's unofficial between December and March.
Now, here's my question. He's already been on one unofficial. Do you have unlimited unofficials?
Yeah, you can go on as many unofficials as you want.
And that's a question you would know, not me, because of your history and compliance. But, okay, well, I would hope that we can get them back then.
Like football season, you'll see kids that are in 9th grade that are going on unofficial visits to UK games, so they can get free tickets to a UK or Louisville game.
Okay.
That in high school, I had friends that would go on unofficials to UK, even though they weren't being recruited at all.
Yeah. Well, it's if he doesn't come back after December 8th, which I don't want to bank on him doing that. I think you've really got to push because if he commits in March or April and we don't see him again since December, other than going on in-home visits or whatever, I just don't feel great about that. Hello, Russell and Russell. 2 Russells in here. Nice to see you guys in here tonight. Thank you all for being in here. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you're a new viewer or listener and you like what you hear. But anyway, we just got it's so hard to time these 25 guys and their visits and then when they're ready to commit, because you try to time a visit when you think you can land them. Like, it's hard if you're gonna if Shelton Henderson wants to come visit in August, but he's not going to commit till November. Of course, you don't say no.
But you try to say, hey, would you rather come in October?
Yes, and if they say no, they say no, and that's what makes it tough. And of course, that also kind of gives it tips their hat a little bit, because a lot of these kids will say, I want to commit by this time frame, and they'll set your visit, whoever they really like the most, they typically set it towards the end of that. Now, the portal is completely different because you have such a small window. Portal guys, you want to get in there ASAP.
You want them on campus the day they go in the portal.
No kidding. And it's really difficult to get a guy to hold off on the first school we visit. High school guys are the opposite.
They want to get wined and dined. Here's the difference. Portal kids, they know what they want. They know what they're looking for. They know where they want to go.
Right.
They know how they like to be coached. They know the system they want to play. They know everything. Like, if you're a junior or senior, let's use football for an example, because basketball guys are less being, fourth or fifth year seniors. But if you're a fourth or fifth year senior going into football,
not so loud,
and you're going in the portal, you know what you want. You know where you want to go. You know what the play style you want. But as a high school kid, you don't know all that, and you want to go through the recruiting process. The recruiting process is a very time-consuming thing. It's a very stressful. It's a very stressful time for a high school kid, and they want to see all aspects of the recruiting process in high school. They want to take all their visits. They want to go on unofficials. They want to take their friends and blah, blah, blah. They want to do all this. But when you're in the portal, they want it to be like this.
I'm with you. I've got a meltdown over here because I told her to quit slamming stuff in the. She shut me down here. I'm getting frustrated. With only two of us on here, I can't just mute. So I'm going to have to probably shut this bad boy down. But here's what I'll say. Mikel Brown, I think it's very important that, or I'm hopeful that maybe he'll push his timeline up, because I do think these kids in high school, which was my point, like to set their last visit to the school that they are most interested in. Good example of Caden Lewis in UK, Shelton Henderson and Duke. Okay, she's fine now. Good. I didn't know.
Malachi in UK, because Malachi's original commit date was like February or March. He moved it up to September,
and then he went to UK.
Yeah,
visited UK. I mean, and then after
they committed.
Well, good. That didn't last as long as I thought it was going to last, so that's good. She stopped, but so I'm really looking at that window of time and to see what happens there, because he's my favorite recruit in the class. He always has been, as far as our system goes. So you could argue he's not the best player overall, like a Darren Peterson or AJ. Whatever his last name is.
We're not paying him $4 million either.
No. So you can argue that he's not the best player, but as far as fit in our system, I absolutely think he's the best player.
Landon, I think JJ is all but a lock to BYU.
Yeah. I think he's going to go there with AJ. AJ and JJ, they're good friends, by the way. And I think it was JJ or one of them got the other one to reschedule their visit to BYU for the same weekend as the opposite. So
I bet JJ got AJ to reschedule it.
I think that's what it was too, but I don't remember. But either way, one of them got the other one to do it the same weekend. And so they both went and visited BYU. And I know JJ's always been considered a heavy BYU lean anyway. So
it's hard to get him.
BYU's tough right now, man. They're rolling in the people, but we just got to hope that we start strong and that we're able to start landing some of these guys and get Louisville basketball back to the recruiting that we're used to, because it's been way too long. So that being said, Connor, I'm going to go ahead because Callie's back to banging toys in the cart again. I'm going to see, do you have any final thoughts tonight?
Not confident in Saturday, but I am confident in Monday.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, man. But hey, there's never better first time to beat Clemson than Saturday. There's never a better first time than now.
Crazier
So,
things have happened.
hopefully by next time we see you guys, we will have 2 wins in our belt at Clemson in an upset, and of course, opening the basketball season against Morehead State. Thank you guys for tuning in Third Banner Pod tonight. Feel free to like and subscribe. Until next time, you guys have a good one and go Cards.